What's up, Duval? It's your favorite Jaguar, Bucky Brooks, and this is Bleav in Jags, Bleav in Jaguars, rather, a podcast dedicated to all things Jacksonville Jaguars. And we're going to talk about, look, the first preseason game is upon us. The Jaguars are going to take on the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday night. It's going to be fun. It's going to be on NFL Network. Yours truly is going to be on the call. So it should be a lot of fun being able to talk to I say the nation's audience, a football audience, about the Jaguars as they're taking on the back-to-back defending champs. So I'm looking forward to that. And today, what I want to do is basically, I just got done with a production meeting, just talked to a handful of the players and the coaches about what's been going on in training camp. And so I want to give you a little insight, a little of the skinny on the team and all of those things, while also previewing the game and what we could see on Saturday night. Before we do that, let's pay off the sponsor. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics to baseball to Formula One racing. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code Bleav, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit of up to $250. Bet Online, the game starts here. And guys, the game does start here. It starts this weekend. We get a chance to see our beloved Jags take on the Kansas City Chiefs. It is going to be an interesting affair because the Jaguars and Chiefs are some of the only teams that really believe in playing their guys during the preseason. Part of that is Doug Peterson was heavily influenced by Andy Reid, who has always done this. And Andy Reid has always done a really good job of running hard training camps. He doesn't really believe in doing a bunch of joint practices. He wants to focus on getting his team ready to play, and not ready to play the first game, but the entire season. And so they go about having a physical training camp. They play their players in the preseason because they want them to hit the regular season ready to go. And if you look at the Chiefs, some of the benefits that they've had from taking like that edgier training camp, this is a team that has always kind of been out in front, and teams have had to chase them as opposed to them chasing a playoff berth at the end of the season. The Jaguars certainly want to take a page from the Chiefs notebook, and they want to be a team that is already in the playoffs early in the year, and they're playing for top seeding as opposed to playing for admission to get into the tournament. And so there's been a little difference in how they've gone about it over the course of training camp. But one of the things that we will see, starters will probably play 2 to 3 series. They won't go beyond the first quarter, but they're going to play, and they're going to play their guys, and they're going to try and get them ready, and they're going to try and use these reps to build out that continuity, that chemistry. So when we kick it off in September, this team is ready to rock, and they're ready to play at a high level. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how Trevor hooks up with his old playmakers, Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, but also do they do some things early in the game where we see Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas maybe make an impactful play to kind of set the tone for how this offense will look. Regardless, it should be a lot of fun. They're going to play their guys early, and then they're going to let the young guys play. And for the young guys, this is a great opportunity. If you play 3.5 quarters, you can get plenty of opportunities to make a play that can allow you to kind of solidify a role on a team, on a unit, within the rotation. All of those things are at play. The one thing that typically happens is you got to make a play on special teams to give yourself a chance to be able to contribute as a backup on offense or defense. So the kicking game is key. Look at how these guys perform on special teams, because some of those standout performers are going to earn their way onto the team because they're able to really contribute in the third phase of the game while also being a viable backup on offense or defense. So let's get to the production meeting. Let's talk about what was said. Like it's great to have access to the players sometimes. It's great to be able to have these one-on-one conversations with the players and just kind of figure out what everyone's mindset is going into the season. And some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about isn't new, isn't different. It's been discussed repeatedly throughout the course of the off season, but it's kind of confirmation on what we are all thinking about the team. I've said when I've gone out to practice that the vibe is different. There's a different energy. There's a different kind of level of accountability. I would say there are higher standards for what has been expected of the team. The coaches are a little more active and engaged in terms of demanding more from the team. And I'm not saying that the Jags coaches did a bad job or a poor job previously. You can just tell that there's an emphasis on certain things when you're around the team. The way they run on and off the field, the way they get in and out the huddle, the way they're executing things and finishing off plays on offense, the way they're attacking the ball and going after the ball and finishing at the ball on defense at the end of pursuing a play to the end. You can tell that the coaches are really on the players to make sure that they're living up to the standards and the expectations that have been set by the team. The other thing that you can tell, and this is interesting because when you hear Trevor talk and everyone around the team has talked about the chemistry and the attention to detail. And, in the conversation, Trevor talked about, look, man, the only fun in football is really in the winning. The winning is the fun part. Like when you win, that's when you have fun. That's when you have a good time. It's not about the money that you make and all that. It's about fun. The fun is in the winning. And when you win, you get a few different things happen. When you win, everyone celebrates the team aspect. Everyone's bought in. And so you win at a high level and the team accomplishes what they want to accomplish. Talking about a guy who won a national title in college, a guy who won at a high level in high school. Winning is in his DNA. He expects to win. The other thing that happens when you win, individually, people get rewarded for winning, not only from your own team, but from other teams. So it's in everyone's best interest when you win games. Trevor talked about, just how everyone, the attention to detail and the preparation has gone up because there's more pressure on them. Some of that internal, but some of that external by the coaches to make sure that everyone knows exactly what they're doing, that when they step onto the field on practice days, that everyone is like prepared, they're ready to go, they know their assignments, they know where to line up, they execute the plays that are called, and that you finish the practice with a minimal amount of mistakes. Yes, it's practice, it's a dress rehearsal, it's not going to be perfect, but the great teams practice at such a high standard that it's rare that you see egregious mistakes repeated. Um, that standard has been talked about because I can just hear it from Trevor, from Evan Ingram, from Christian Kirk, from Josh, even Trayvon Walker talked about. Everyone knows what is expected of them. It's been explained thoroughly, and people are being held accountable for that. So I love that. And one of the things that Trevor talked about the team really working on is just eliminating the self-inflicted mistakes. When we think about those things, and some teams, we call them the DBOs, don't beat ourselves. And those things consist of the pre-snap penalties, the turnovers, the missed assignments and misalignments, things that you can control. Uh, if you reduce the amount of those kinds of mistakes, man, it really ups your opportunity to win. It puts you in a situation where it's going to be hard for the other team to beat you. We've seen for years when the Patriots were at their best under Bill Belichick, that's what they did. They waited for the other team to implode, and they never gave games away by turning the ball over, by having these egregious errors and penalties and miscues that are really controlled by your team. You know how to line up. You know what the assignment is. Those things, you shouldn't have those busts. Well, the Jaguars are really digging into that part of it, making sure everyone knows exactly what they're doing. They're doing their assignments. They're lining up right. They're finishing the balls. They're really on the details and doing the little things that lead to wins. I thought it was really interesting to hear him talk about practice and preparation, but doing that with a heightened sense of urgency. Uh, Church said just like they needed more pressure on them, pressure to perform, pressure to do it, so you can see how guys are going to react in game. So with the young guys, making sure everyone is not so casual in their approach, but they're really locked in, they're focused, they're getting the job done, and they're making sure that it works. So I love hearing that from the players. The other thing that I love is having a conversation with Trayvon Walker, and Trayvon Walker was being able to talk about his new role on the team and Ryan Nielsen coming in and what it meant. And I told you guys that I Bleav this defense, the change that was made, to really designed to help the young stars take another step to become super dominant players, to become superstars in this league potentially. When Trayvon Walker talked, one, he is noticeably bigger. He said he's up 12 to 15 pounds because he knew his hand was going to be in the dirt. He was going to be primarily a defensive end going forward. They were going to eliminate some of the things that he did in previous years in terms of dropping in the coverage. They're just going to line up in a four-man front. They can go get the quarterback, see ball, get ball, go play. When I talked about that part of it, and he's like, look, man, it's part of that. Like, we're bigger, we're stronger, we want to be more physical, but we have to be more consistent. And part of that consistency comes from learning how to stop the run, forcing people in these long yardage situations so he and Josh Hines Allen can then begin to attack the quarterback in favorable positions for the defense. And so as I think about this team and think about what they want to do is, look, everything is about making the game simple so these guys can play hard and allow their talent to shine through. When they do that, they're successful, they're going to win games, and they're going to be able to dominate people at the point of attack. He just talked about the preparation and just being able to freely fly to the ball because they're not as cluttered. And look, no one's taking a shot at the previous defense coordinator, but they just talked about how the guys collectively, because it's not just Trayvon, it's not just Josh Hines Allen, Andrew Cisco, whatever. Everyone to a man has talked about this coaching staff defensively does a really good job of explaining the why. And for a team that I would say is a high IQ team, when you explain the why, the pieces of the puzzle fit together. Because now I understand why it's important for me to take certain steps or to align a certain way so I don't compromise the integrity of the defense. I'm not trying to be a selfish cowboy trying to make a play on my own, but I'm trying to work as 1/11th of the unit. And so if I do my job, everyone else is going to do their job, and the defense works, and it works at a high level. So excited to see what this defense looks like, particularly against an offense that is new and improved. Patrick Mahomes comes back, but the weapons that they have on the outside, Marquise Hollywood-Brown, David Worthy, they're going to test the coverage in the back end, but they're also going to grant them opportunities to get knocked around. When you think about what Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen can do when they're locked in and ready to go. The other player that we had a chance to talk to was Mitch Morse. Mitch Morse came over from the Buffalo Bills. He said the driving force behind him coming to Jacksonville was Doug Peterson. The familiarity, they were together in Kansas City, which was great. He respected him. He loved how Doug was an even keel coach, didn't have the highs and the lows that some coaches have. He's always the same way every time he walks in the door. Players find comfort in knowing that your coach is going to be consistent. He's not going to be too high when things are going well. He's not going to be too low when things are going poorly. He is just going to be the same guy every day, and his expectations aren't going to change. Whatever he asks you to do in the off season, he's going to demand those same things in the regular season. That consistency leads to trust, and that trust leads to great success because now you can hold everyone accountable because you know exactly where they're coming from. Mitch Morse also talked about, man, he's just so positive on Trevor Lawrence. And I love to hear him talk about the poise, the maturity. He talked about Trevor being a great competitor and how like that edge can come out. And even though Trevor's a nice guy, he is a feisty competitor. He wants to win and win at a high level. That obviously matches what I told you Trevor talked about. The fun is in the winning early in the thing. And so I just like those things because when you hear what people are saying and you hear the players talk, it appears that everyone is on the same page. They all want to get it done. They all know that execution is everything and that their wins on Sunday are byproducts of how they work through the practice week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If they take care of business those days, Sunday is going to be a layup because they've done what they need to do to get ready to play a great game on game day. So having Mitch Morse do that, having Mitch Morse come over from Buffalo, where he has been part of winning organizations, teams that dominated the division, all of that's going to help, particularly when it gets down to nut-cutting time, the last half of the season. You need your leaders to step up and show the young guys the way. There are more guys populated in the locker room that have had success and winning pedigrees because they played for winning programs, and that certainly matters in this league. Finally, like having a chance to talk to Doug Peterson. And the thing about Doug and I go back. Doug and I played together in the Packers in the mid-'90s. Doug is one of the best in the business, I think, as a team builder, as a play caller, an offensive mind, and all of that. But today, to be able to talk to him about just the team, and he just talked about, like, man, we're in a win now business. We got to win now. No one has time to wait on the product to be developed. You got to take the team that you have here and find a way to win with it. And they're committed to trying to figure out how they can get this team up and going and playing well right out the gate. And some of that is, look, changing their approach. They've changed the vibe around the program. They've changed some of the expectations. They've also changed the scheduling in terms of how they want to get this team ready to play. We've seen some physical practices. We've seen them really pay attention to detail and do more things that require everyone to be on the same page to make sure that everyone has it. We've seen them utilize different rotations to prepare in the event of an injury or suspension or anything that could come up that could take someone out the lineup. The team is making a concerted effort to be better prepared than they were previously. And to me, that's good coaching, but it's also a coach that has enough awareness to know maybe I didn't do the best job getting this team ready to play. And I'm going to make sure I do everything to put them over the hump. In the National Football League, I can tell you it's a player's game, but coaches determine which ones go to the winner's circle. The best coaches find a way to find some success in the margins that determine which team wins and which team loses on game day. So listen to Doug talk about the team wanting to be physical, the team wanting to be tough, finding guys that really love the game. All of that stuff kind of crystallizes when you look at the team. When I come and I look at the team, and I've watched the team more than I've ever have in terms of practice, it's different. I'm telling you, it's different. There's a different energy. There's a different level when it comes to the effort. The enthusiasm is different, but there's also a different level of professionalism in terms of how they prepare, how they practice, how they finish off things. It's preseason, but I'm telling you, there's going to be a difference in terms of the team that you see run out the tunnel. They're much different than they've been before. And part of that is because of the concerted effort the Jaguars have made to change some of the things that cost them down the stretch. So now, let me give you three things to look for in the preseason game when you show up. So the first thing you want to look for, like we talked about the starters playing maybe 2 series. Number one thing that we want to look for on both sides of the ball, what does the execution and operation look like? When we're looking at the offense, one, can they avoid all the pre-snap penalties that have plagued them in the past? How comfortable does Trevor Lawrence look executing the plays he's asked to execute? Whether it's the quick game, whether it's pushing the ball down the field, does he look like he's really comfortable and that he has a feel for where players are supposed to be and where the ball should go? Now that we're in year 4, but year 3 in the system, he should know it. He should be playing the game on autopilot. We need to see this number one offense roll. Defensively, there's been a lot of talk about the simplicity that they're playing with. Simple scheme allowing the young players to play well and go after it. Well, it's one thing to look great in practice. Let's see how they look in a game against Pat Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback, no, the best quarterback in football, and a fast cast of wide receivers, David Worthy, Hollywood Brown. How do we match up? Because if you're going to play man-to-man, you got to be able to play man-to-man against the good teams. This would be a great test to see if we're good enough to hold up in man coverage. Excited to see that. Second thing I want to see is how do the young guys play when they get their opportunity? One of the things that scouts are looking for is, doesn't matter how many plays you play. If you only play 4 plays, but you do something within those 4 plays that pops, that keeps me engaged and intrigued to watch you continue to develop your game. It could be a big hit on special teams. It could be a big return. It could be something on offense or defense that was unexpected, but you deliver in a major way. For young guys, first impressions matter. This preseason game is everything, because if you get an opportunity to go in this preseason game and you don't do it the right way, it's not enough time for you to make it up and get back in the mix. Decisions are made swiftly in this league. And so this first exposure, game-like speed, you got to be on your P's and Q's. So the young guys have to play well. They got to finish. The third thing and the final thing that I'm looking for, it's been a lot of conversation over the course of the offseason, but the kickoff rule. Like, we've seen it play out the last couple of weeks on the Hall of Fame game. We saw it over the course of the weekend. Some guys kicking off, but it hasn't been dynamic and explosive. I want to see what the Jaguars do when it comes to the kickoff. Do they do anything differently? Do they play it straight? Are they able to create a big return? How well do they cover? Do they need to change the body types that are covering? When we're looking at this game, there are going to be a lot of things going on. But pay close attention to the kickoff, because how the kickoff is received, and how well it's executed or diffused or any of those things from the Jaguar standpoint, it could determine the composition of the roster. Do you need more DB types? Do you need more linebacker, tight end types? What do you need to be successful in those areas because that will dictate maybe the last two or three guys on the roster. So when you're looking at the game and you're looking at the game on Saturday, pay close attention to execution and effort of the number one offense and defense. Do they look like they're ready to go? Can they start fast and finish faster? You love that if they're able to do it. Watch how the young guys jump into the mix and see which ones stand out. First impressions matter, so pay close attention to the guys that flash. And third thing, pay close attention to the kickoff. That new kickoff has special teams coaches going crazy, trying to come up and with these creative schemes to create big plays. Let's see if it's actually effective or if guys are just going to settle in and say, hey, I'll just give the offense the ball at the 30 and not worry about the trouble. So that's it. So that's a little preview of what we're going to talk about and what we're looking for in the first game of the preseason. I'm going to come back on Monday. We're going to do a little recap of what we saw. We talk about the winners and losers. We'll talk about what it is that we saw and how this game will impact what decisions are made later on when it comes to some of the players that may or may not be on the roster. So that's Bleav in Jaguars. Make sure you rate, subscribe, review, do all the great things to make sure you're propping up the podcast. Love how the community is growing. Let's make sure we tell a friend to come back and join in. Make sure you continue to follow all the great stuff that we're doing at the Bleav Network on YouTube, on football. Check all that stuff out. Some of my colleagues are doing outstanding stuff. Check them out, give them a follow, give them a subscription, give them what they need so we continue to grow the community and do what we want to do in terms of really dominating the airwaves and the listening waves and all that stuff with the Bleav Network. So until then, I'm Bucky Brooks. This is Bleav in Jaguars. I will talk to you